is up, RotoGrinders? It is the reunion of the People's Show. If you liked Sunday mornings with us to talk a little bit of football, myself, Bobby Gomes, Tasteful Tides, 8:30. I think it was 8. Was it 9:30? It was 9:30 in the morning on the East Coast. We're reuniting. It feels like it's been too long. This is, of course, the start of 2 hours. 2 hours of nonstop NBA DFS conversation, taking y'all straight up the lock. Kevin Roth will come in about an hour and 20 minutes or so. He's bringing Taylor Smith. He's bringing Keith Eyster. We do have Tasteful Tides, Bobby Gomes, Tim. Yeah, this is our first reunion show, I believe, or unless the first one I just don't recall. I might have blocked it out. Did it go poorly? I don't remember.
I think this is the first reunion since week 18 or whatever it was.
Yeah. You don't call or text or write. It's been you got all swagged out, Tim. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, I got all my swag finally. Yep.
We're not rocking it today unless I can't see. There's no hat. There's no emblem on the shirt.
I've got the hat. I might put it on. I might put on the hat later.
All right. Yeah, there you go. Congratulations. The bit is finally over. Like 3 years in the making. You're always like, hey, man, look how great this person looks wearing the RotoGrinders gear. I wonder what that feels like.
It's been a full 3 years waiting for my swag.
Well, you live like in parts unknown, to be fair. It's probably is it tricky to mail stuff up to you? I don't know. You're on your little island.
It's very easy. It's very easy. It's not hard at all.
I'm trying to apologize on behalf of RG. I don't know. That's not my department, but I'm glad you got hooked up. Bobby Gomes.
How's it going, Dean? How's it going?
It's going well, man. I'm excited about tonight's slate. I think it should be a fun one. Lots of different routes to go. Lots of body parts still up in the air. A ton of value, possibly too much value. I'm running new optimal stuff because you just got another update with Sims being out for New York, and that doesn't seem like a huge deal. But I guess Taj Gibson music's gonna play. He's gonna run a few minutes out there. But we have Tibbs is gonna run his Knicks into the ground for sure tonight. So Knicks are popping. Brooklyn is super thin. They're on the back half of a back-to-back. I believe it's only a couple teams. Yeah, Dallas in the back half of a back-to-back. Those two teams playing against each other on the back half. Luka on the back half has he was dealing with that ankle. Officially, they gave him a nose. He's got a nose. He got bopped in it last night. So he's questionable. That is the front half of the TNT doubleheader. We'll see if he gives it a go. The back half of the TNT doubleheader is Milwaukee and Phoenix. And you do not have to concern yourself with that game if you're playing on DraftKings. But FanDuel did keep it on the main slate. So FanDuel has Milwaukee and Phoenix, the back half of the TNT doubleheader. DK does not. Running some new optimal stuff. I think it's all New York stuff. New York and Houston, because there's no Freddie VanVleet, no FEV, and they're taking on Indiana. So the old perfect storm. One of the key players are out, and you have the advantageous matchup against the Pacers. And then the other games are happening too, and certainly we'll talk about that. We'll go game by game. But Bobby, what do you have as far as screenshot wise? Your thoughts as far as the slate? Memphis is here too. I don't know everybody is either out or questionable for Memphis. It's a mess. We'll talk about that when we get there. But man, Memphis, what a disaster. They really want to hit the sim button on this season for sure. It's just been truly awful. But yeah, what are you eyeing, Bobby? Big picture as far as tonight's slate.
Yeah, I really like Shea versus Utah. Like Luka, obviously. I know he kind of busted last night, but I can go back to another Luka night. You don't get many Luka floor games. It stunk to get one last night, but he's going to be a guy that I'm pretty much interested in. And then, yeah, basically just Royce O'Neal chalk night, it looks like. So that's going to be pretty interesting in terms of how that goes. Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, these Houston guys are going to be pretty chalky. Always interested in Royce chalk night. It's going to be a pretty easy fade. What are we showing for Royce ownership currently?
It's probably pretty high. He has ransom optimals. He's the fourth highest person hitting my optimals. That is because, Brooklyn basically played 6.5 dudes last night. Really, really tight rotations. Now, it is the back half of a back-to-back, and we'll talk about this more when we do the game-by-game stuff. Lonnie Walker, the fourth, played 4 minutes last night because he hurt his hamstring, and now he's out tonight. And also Cam Johnson, one of their key rotation players, is out. DFS is out. Dorian Finney-Smith and Daron Sharp has been out. Now they're getting Ben Simmons back tonight, but I believe he's still on that 20-minute restriction. So, tons of minutes to go around. They did call up their G League guys. So that'll be Keon Johnson, Noah Clowney, and Jalen Wilson. So they'll have bodies. I think last night they only had 9 healthy ones at the end of the game. And they only played basically 6 or 6.5, depending on how you do the math. And like Harry Giles was there, but not really. So Brooklyn's going to be really, really interesting to talk about, taking on Dallas. And again, that's the front half of the TNT doubleheader, national TV. 7:30 game, one game at 7 o'clock. That's the Rockets and the Pacers. I don't think you can ignore that one if you're playing a bunch of lineups because it looks pretty tasty. Speaking of tasty, tasteful tides. Tim, your thoughts as far as the overview on this slate?
Yeah, it's going to be Houston. That's going to be the most popular team overall. Amon Thompson, Şengün, Aaron Holiday. They're all going to be very, very, very popular. They get the great Pacers matchup. But yeah, and then there's Brooklyn. I'm glad that Bobby brought up Royce O'Neal immediately because I am really nervous about playing him as chalk because he's going to be like the last option in that starting 5. And then he's going to be out there with all the starters. I kind of like Dennis Smith Jr. As a pivot because he's coming off the bench, but Dennis Smith Jr. is coming with even more ownership than Royce O'Neal. So I'm really kind of like, I'm not really sure what to do with Brooklyn because they're only going to play 7, maybe 8 guys, maybe 8. Dallas is not a very good defensive team either. So it's going to be tricky what to do with that Brooklyn team.
We did give a few just in case minutes, like Jalen Wilson got 4 minutes just in case he enters the rotation. Harry Giles is getting 6 just in case. Watford is getting 18 for the record. So yeah, but like otherwise 35 for Cam Thomas, 37 for Bridges. It could be more. It is the back half of back-to-back, so keep that in mind. 32 for Claxton. It certainly could be more. Simmons, we're giving 20 because that is allegedly his max. 25 for DSJ if he comes off the bench, and pretty good defender too. So they'll probably have him defending Luka, assuming Luka's out there. So they might need him. They might need to bump that up a little bit more. I believe he got the close last night, DSJ, if I'm not mistaken. We'll kind of dive into this a little bit more when we go game by game. Anything else that we should sort of mention? I did run my optimal stuff. I know Bobby was asking. Let's see. How many? I think it's basically 3 teams, right? First lineup I have is 4 Rockets, which I think is too many. I think 3 is a good number. I don't think I'm playing 4 Rockets, but they certainly could be. They could all get there. And then it's 2 players for New York. And then it's just 1 Brooklyn piece, which is kind of surprising. That Brooklyn piece is the 3-and-D du jour, Royce O'Neal. The second optimal is 4 Rockets as well, and 2 Brooklyn and 3 New York. So yeah, it's those 3 teams that are really dominating. And also, like if you have the salary, and the first optimal did, you get some shot. Get yourself some SGA against Utah. Utah has a lot of players that are questionable currently. Shai should be good to go. But yeah, they might be getting Williams back. I should be specific. Jalen Williams, both Williams are questionable. I think they're going to get Jalen back, and maybe they get, I shouldn't say, they might get both Jalen's back. Lindy Waters is questionable. It doesn't matter. Bertans is questionable. It doesn't matter. Ousmane Dieng, questionable. They have a whole slew of guys that are questionable, but we also have to keep an eye on the trade deadline. Trade deadline is looming. That's not till Thursday, but we might get something early. You never know. It's certainly possible. Things might pop up on us, and we'll keep an eye on that. It's on the Twitter if any news happens to drop. Do want to say what's up to the chat. Kindly join the conversation. Also, kindly hit that like button. Subscribe. Turn on those notifications. We like all that stuff to help us keep the lights on here. Tim, you got anything else that we should sort of mention before we dive in to do the game-by-game deal? It does feel pretty clear on what like the quote-unquote optimal right way to play is. Of course, it's basketball and variance and yada, yada. Ownership matters for, tournaments, but it's pretty clear what the good spots are. Like it's pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, maybe you already talked about this, but did you mention anything about Memphis? And
I
their
mentioned
injuries.
it's a disaster, and what's weird about it is I guess they have a bunch of questionable guys, and you really can't set up any if-thens for it. But yeah, it's a mess. It's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be like the 7 guys that were available last time. Essentially, but Triple J is doubtful. Tillman's doubtful. Rose is questionable. I think Vince Williams comes back tonight. We'll see. But prices have somewhat adjusted. What's weird is that now again, this might change once guys get ruled out, but it is strange. I don't think Memphis is that, and also they're facing New York, which is not the the ideal matchup either. But we'll keep an eye on it as we get news for Memphis. But I'm not way into them. I think they're a little bit deeper than we've seen them of late. I think.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Stay tuned. But is there something you wanted to mention, or just kind of keep an eye?
No,
keep an eye on them.
Just keep an eye on that because that could be really big.
Gordon Hayward questionable tomorrow, huh? Right in time for the trade deadline. That's interesting. He hasn't played. When was the last time we saw Gordon Hayward? It feels like it's been months, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's all right. There you go. LaMelo already ruled out, by the way. He might just get sat down for the entire season. Who knows? Let's see. All right, Houston Pacers 245. That is a big boy total for sure. Indiana is laying 8. Halliburton is officially questionable. I think he plays. We'll see. Stay tuned. He's still on that minutes limit, 20, 22, 24, 25, depending on. Jalen Smith is questionable as well. Was Mathurin ruled out, or is he questionable? I thought I saw something come across.
I think he's questionable.
Okay. He's officially questionable. And like we said before, as far as Houston, Tari Eason hasn't played in a while. FEV, Freddie VanVleet is out. We're projecting Amen Thompson to draw the start, and he looks like the best point per dollar play. If that is the case, I think there's a chance Aaron Holiday starts. I feel much better about Amen Thompson as far as a fantasy contributor. I would still think he's playable. And of course, I saw somebody in chat asking about Alperen Şengün season. Şengün's going to step up. Awesome matchup here versus the Pacers. Obviously, a huge pace up matchup. Is this trying to see pace wise how big of a leap it is? Where Indiana is versus where Houston is. Houston plays pretty slow, but yeah, no FEV and the awesome matchup here, Tim. I don't think we can ignore this game at 7:00 and just kind of move on. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, Houston plays at the 17th pace, and Indiana plays at the second fastest pace. So obviously, it's a huge pace up spot for Houston. Amen Thompson is going to be the most popular player on the slate. It's not even going to be close. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm going to play him, and then it's Şengün for me. I think Aaron Holiday is super interesting off the bench. I think Jabari Smith at 5'2" is interesting, and I really like Cam Whitmore also. He's going to be a contrarian play.
Yeah, I think Whitmore is the sneaky one. You mentioned Holiday, and I just think Whitmore is the guy that can actually score fantasy points better than Holiday. What are we giving minutes-wise to Whitmore? He's the guy that also play if this game gets ugly. I think he would mop 22 minutes currently. He projects okay, but I could see a path where he can get hot. He could put like 20 actual points in the bucket. I think he's really sneaky for tournaments. And then not somebody that would be in my optimal lineup, not somebody that would be in your cash game lineup, obviously. How do we feel about cash, Tim? Are you playing cash tonight?
Yeah. I mean, Thompson 100% is going to be in my cash game lineup. But
yes,
I'm not sure about Şengün yet. He probably will be, but I'm not positive.
What about Jabari Smith? He's too cheap at 5'2".
I don't think I'm going to do cash, but I think he's a great tournament play. Yeah.
Jalen Green. All no. 4 of these, for the record, are in the top optimal lineup.
No, I know.
I'm not saying you have to play them all, obviously.
Yeah, but I mean, I really like the Knicks, so we have to talk about them. But yeah, so it's definitely going to be Thompson, probably going to be Şengün. I guess maybe Jabari, but we have to talk about that Knicks game, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Because they're going to play so many minutes. The Knicks are.
Is Tibbs going to show no mercy, right? That we know the deal with Tibbs.
Yeah.
He likes to keep his players in as long as possible and sweep the leg and just punish his opponents. Again, this is the guy that
I
brought
just
Dante DiVincenzo. Oh, go ahead.
I feel more confident about the rotations of Brooklyn and New York over Houston.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Houston has more options. Like it's just
Right.
FEV that's out. There's other
Right.
pieces that can do different things. Like Jayshawn Tate can do something. I'm not saying to play Jayshawn Tate, but he's just like a guy that's available. They can run out Jeff Green if they want to run out Jeff Green. They can dust off to Reggie Bullock and hit some threes. But it's an interesting point. But the matchup is best for Houston as well. It's kind of, I guess that's the counterpoint facing Indiana. But Bobby, tournaments. You're running a bunch of tournaments tonight. What's the strategy?
Yeah, I'm playing a bunch of teams on DK. For me, I think Sengun's in like a fantastic spot. Going to see his usage increase up to 27% with Van Fleet out. So he's someone I'm interested in. Eamon Thompson being the value chalk in a pace up spot. He seems like almost a lock button for me. Cam Whitmore, he's coming off the bench, but off the bench, his usage increases to 26%. So I don't mind him. Yeah, and then like pretty much all these Rockets are in play. Tim said Aaron Holiday off the bench. Jalen Green, who's been playing very well over the last month. I think he's someone that you can definitely consider. Not really any Pacers for me. Maybe Miles Turner, I guess, unless like we get some injury news open up. But it's really just Miles Turner for me on the other side. But yeah, I definitely like these Rockets, and I want to get up to Shea or Luka. So the value with Eamon Thompson, Cam Whitmore, I think these guys make a lot of sense.
Yeah, the asking price for Halliburton is still way too much. It's not adjusting to whatever his dual role happens to be. We're projecting 22 minutes for him. It's weird what they've been doing with him. Like sometimes they've been starting him, sometimes they've not been starting him, and they sort of burn out his 20, 22 minutes or 24 minutes in the middle of the third quarter, and like they just can't bring him back. I guess I shouldn't say can't, but they won't because they're keeping him on this minutes restriction. And he doesn't close, but he did. So that sometimes they would start him, sometimes they don't. I'm guessing around 22, 24. And he's officially questionable for what it's worth, but I think it's a really strong likelihood that he does play. Bobby, rules wise for Houston, are we capping it at 3? Are we allowing 4 as far as Rockets? What kind of rules do you have in play?
I would cap at 3 currently. That's kind of where I'm at. I think that with Eamon Thompson, Cam Whitmore, and Royce O'Neal, you can do it at most 2. But yeah, if we think Royce is the definitive chalk, because for DSJ, I would do just for the slate currently, Royce O'Neal, Dennis Smith Jr., Eamon Thompson, and Cam Whitmore at most 3. That's kind of how I would approach it.
Well, you think Whitmore is going to be popular? How popular is he going to be? I'm seeing 5 or 6%.
Whitmore's not going to be popular.
I think by the lock, Whitmore will definitely be a little bit more popular than what we're currently seeing.
Okay. What if Holiday starts, which is a possibility, and Eamon Thompson doesn't start? And by the way, Eamon Thompson in the year 1.09, and I didn't kick anybody off or kick off FEV, which is general numbers for the season. 1.09 DK points per minute. His usage on the season, we're talking about 19%. Holiday 0.75. DK points per minute. His usage is 15, 16%. It'll be even lower if he somehow jumped in the starting lineup. And then Whitmore, a 26% usage. Now, again, Whitmore a lot of times is playing with either scrubs or backups, so it would go down a little bit if he gets a little more run with the main unit. But 1.17 fantasy points per minute. That's why I have Holiday just the lowest amongst those. Even if he starts, I'm still not enthused. Like I might play him because he can eke his way there. But Bobby, what sort of a thought would you have if we get Holiday starting, which is, I think, possible?
So I think Eamon is starting. What I would basically say is if Aaron Holiday did start, you bump down your exposure to Thompson from what it would currently be. I have a ton of Thompson currently. So I'd probably be a little bit above the field to Thompson if Holiday ended up starting, and Holiday would eke his way in my pool a little bit more than I currently already have him. I do think Cam Whitmore is a good play off the bench. You talked about the usage increase, and he's going to be playing. He has the most. His usage increase is basically why you hit on it. He's playing with all scrubs. So for me, I like him probably more than Holiday. I prefer Eamon Thompson to Whitmore. But maybe if Holiday started, I would prefer Whitmore to Thompson a little bit, just because he has the bigger usage in that scenario. So, yeah, that's kind of how I'm thinking about it currently, if that's the situation.
Mr. Gerg's asking how you're healthy enough to play 24 minutes, but not healthy enough to play 35. Yeah, it's a weird thing what they're doing, and we've kind of talked about this. It seems like they're trying to let Halliburton play 65 games and get him so he qualifies for All-NBA, and all of a sudden he gets a boost when it comes to his next contract, and it's literally like, what, $30, $40, $50 million difference. But it is an odd question because, yeah, like it was a hamstring, I believe, and those tend to, you can re-aggravate them, but I don't know how that works. But that seems to be the plan going forward. That probably will be the plan at least until the All-Star break. They need Halliburton healthy because the All-Star game is in Indiana this year. They got to show him off. I'm sure he's looking forward to that as well. Can you power rank the Rockets for me, Tim, just for tournaments? As things stand right now, ownership-wise, and like as Bobby was talking about ownership, we are due for an ownership refresh because we're about 2 hours behind. 3 o'clock, 3:08 was the last time we got one. I'm sure we'll get a new batch in soon enough, so maybe we will see a bump for Whitmore, who's currently at 6%. The one that's overwhelming right now is Thompson at 57% on DK, Şengün at 20, Jabari is at 17, Holiday at 15, Green at 12. Green pretty interesting if he's the lowest amongst those. We'll see if that holds. What do you got, Tim?
I got Thompson 1, obviously. Smith 2, Şengün 3, Whitmore 4, probably Green 5, Holiday 6. That's probably where I'd go. Brooks 7.
So Whitmore and Thompson together, I was thinking about this too. Derek had this question in chat. Are they okay to roster together? I'm curious how much they played together. And the other tricky thing is that they played 294 minutes together. Okay, so they played a fair bit together. And obviously Freddie VanVleet has only missed a couple games all season long. I think you can play them together. I think it's okay. But I guess, Bobby, you have a thought on that? I know you're talking about other players that you think are going to be popular, restricting those so you have a little bit of a unique lineup build. But are you okay to play Thompson and Whitmore together?
Yeah, I'm okay with playing them together for sure.
Especially
starting and Whitmore's off the bench, right?
Yeah. I think they'll cross over some. As far as our minute projection, what we have, we have Whitmore getting 22, and we have Thompson getting 30. So certainly some crossover there. Mathurin ruled out for Indiana. I like your call, Bobby, as far as Turner, especially on DK. That price is pretty good, and I don't really like the fact he's facing Şengün, but Şengün being out there, I think will kind of force him to play possibly 30, 31, 32. They kind of lower his minutes. We're projecting 27, but I think there's a little bit more on that. That's a median projection where he can play 28, 29, 30. Where do those 26 Mathurin minutes go? Can you have an if-then setup for that? It's probably –
I don't think so.
Is it meaningful? Is that meaningful, Tim? Like it's just going to be dispersed among different guys? Yeah.
I don't think it's going to do anything crazy for Indiana.
Shepherd will get more run, but he's not somebody you're going to play. Hield should get a few more minutes, but he's really cheap. Maybe Hield would be kind of sort of interesting, but he's always, you never really know. He's been on the wrong end of he's been an up and down season, and he's been down more so than up of late. Nemhard probably gets a few more. Naismith already at 32. He projects pretty well. I guess we'll get an update as far as projections, but is there any other immediate reaction as far as the Pacers you want to talk about with Mathurin being out? Or maybe you can circle back and see if anything pops later once the projections change.
Yeah, I think we can circle back. Yeah.
You got anything else, Bobby, as far as Houston, Indiana? Spent a lot of time in this game, but I think this game is really important. I really think it's going to be hard. It's hard for me to see like nobody in this game landing in, the GPP winning lineups. Do you agree with that, Bobby? It feels like at least one of these Rockets have to be there.
Yeah, I think you can make that rule too. At least one of these Rockets getting on all of your teams. in this matchup, like the pace is what it is. So I would be if you told me that you had a rocket on every one of your team, I'd be perfectly fine with that.
Okay. Moving on, let's talk about Dallas and Brooklyn. 235.5 is the total. Again, both these teams are playing on the back half of a back-to-back. Luka Doncic, again, officially he's listed with a nose. He got bopped in it yesterday. Kyrie's got that thumb. He's expected to be fine. He's officially probable. Kleber is playing with that toe, playing pretty well, Maxi Kleber. Luka also, if you want, he's dealing with an ankle, or he was dealing with an ankle. I don't know if that's 100%, but that's not listed. You can give him 2 body parts. They only gave him 1. Brooklyn, we saw yesterday, Lonnie Walker have that hammy, so he's not playing basketball tonight. No DFS, no Cam Johnson, 3 regulars, and then Day'Ron Sharpe. They do get Ben Simmons back, but we're only projecting 20 minutes for Ben Simmons. Yeah, I'll let Tim, you can start this one off, and you were talking about feeling pretty good about the Nets minutes. And again, I think our projection team is just a little bit of a hedge on the G Leaguers that were called up. They're giving 4 minutes to Jalen Wilson. It's very possible he gets 0. You never know. Harry Giles is there. We're giving him 6, but you were saying how confident you feel. The minutes feel really secure on Bridges and Cam Thomas and Claxton and even some of the other guys. Your thoughts?
The whole starting 5 and DSJ are all going to play well over 30 minutes. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I love them all, really. Bridges is my favorite. Claxton would be number 2 for me. And then I think DSJ would be number 3 for me.
Bobby, what do you got as far as Brooklyn? Any sort of rules you're playing as far as Brooklyn? And let's give it a refresh and see if we get any new ownership stuff here. But certainly it's no secret that Brooklyn looks good tonight.
Yeah, Dallas isn't the greatest team in transition. So I would be interested in Mikal Bridges, Cam Thomas. I think those guys make a lot of sense. If Lonnie was out or DFS was out and Cam Johnson were out, Cam Thomas, he's a 36% usage rate. So he'd be someone I'd be trying to get to, and his ceiling's very high. So I like some of these Brooklyn guys. Royce O'Neal-Chalk, I do not like, will not be playing that.
You're saying X or like lower than the field, or just a straight up X?
Maybe a straight up X. Like he's just pretty much a minutes play, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to say I'm just going to straight up X, but I'll definitely be under the field, whatever his number is, and possibly a straight up X. DSJ, I think he's getting more ownership. I would like him a lot better. Yeah, I just can't play Royce O'Neal again. He's burned me trying to play that chalk enough over my DFS career. I'm sure the both of you feel pretty similar or have been in the situation at some point.
I don't even want to play him in cash, to be honest.
Yeah,
I probably am going to.
You might play him in cash
tonight. I don't want to. I really don't want to.
He stands in the corner. He'll hit his occasional 3. He's a pretty good defensive player. He'll get some boards, but he is the classic 3 and D.
He's going to play so many minutes. That's the thing. He's going to play so many minutes.
We're giving him 32.
Yeah.
My personal stuff has him like ranked 3, which makes me very nervous and maybe need to fix that. I don't know. There's no way I'm playing him. I have to come in under on that. There's no way. I can't do that to myself. Cam Thomas, though, ceiling incredible. Like if those guys are out, I think he's my favorite. Bridges will probably be second, and then DSJ, I would say DSJ would probably be ahead of those guys because of the value. But those are the 3 nets that I'm prioritizing.
So the other thing with Dallas, you were talking about them being weak defensively in transition. Last 12 games, I don't mean to cut off, but they've been the worst. Let's see if I can go with 13. They still the worst. The worst team in basketball defensively as far as defensive rating, 124.1. And, they're 2 points worse than the second worst team over that period. And 124.1, if you're looking at the entire season, what's the worst number? The Charlotte Hornets at 121.2. So they're 3 points worse in this sample than the Hornets have been the entire year, the worst defensive team in all basketball. So Dallas has really, really been struggling defensively. Kyrie's not a great defender. Luka, he's resting a little bit on defense, and he's hurting as well if he's playing. It's not a defensive force. And again, Brooklyn, another perfect storm, right? A bunch of dudes out for Brooklyn and a really, really good matchup against Dallas. Rules-wise for tournaments, Bobby, max players who'll play on Brooklyn, is it 3? We play up to 4 possibly? What kind of rules we have?
It would be max 3. I would make a rule with DSJ and Royce O'Neal, probably max 1. You don't have to do that, but I'm going to do that.
Tim, thoughts and anything to add there as far as a rule for Brooklyn?
I would definitely do min 1, max 3.
Okay. In cash, would you play up to 4 if it makes sense?
4 in cash?
Or no? Okay.
No, definitely not 4. I could see 3. I could see 3, but not 4.
Yeah, I'm not playing cash, so I have not made like a cash construction, but I am. We did get an update as far as our projections and an update as far as ownership. So give that a refresh. I want to see if there's anything changing when it comes to the Brooklyn side, because it feels like the numbers are a little bit low. Royce O'Neal, I don't know where it was before, Bobby. He's now coming in at 23.5% on DK. Bridges at 20%. Claxton at 15%. DSJ at 15%. I can see that being a little bit higher. Cam Thomas at 14%. Dinwiddie at 8%. And nobody else really getting anything. Watford, if you really want to tell yourself a story. And as far as optimals, the first optimal actually has 4 players for Brooklyn now, which is kind of funny. And 2 Rockets. I think that flipped. It's close. We're talking about a difference of like a point or a point and a half. But yeah, Brooklyn's coming in pretty strong here. You don't think, individually, Tim, I think you'd be okay playing DSJ or Claxton or Cam Thomas, I guess Royce O'Neal in cash. Like you're okay with all those guys individually?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So we came down pretty hard on DSJ's ownership.
Why do you think that is?
He was 22 or 23. Now he's what, 15? You said.
Did like the Pacers grab some stuff, or Houston get more ownership stuff? I don't know where it would have went.
Yeah, we must have.
Ahmed is now 72. He jumped up even higher. Is what his part of it
and we're even higher now on Royce. Now Royce is 23. Before he was 18. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And also, I should clarify. I mention this all the time, but if people are new, I had a little bit of variance and stuff. So this probably is not like the exact optimal you'd get if you added no bells or no whistles. But I had some variance to it. But this is essentially what you're going to be getting more or less. As far as the Pacers, by the way, we can just circle back, I suppose. Let's see. Anything of note for Indiana? Naismith, 32 minutes for him, 29 fantasy points. We didn't really mention Pascal. Certainly you can play Pascal. So Buddy got a bump up to 28 minutes. Buddy healed and about a 26 point projection at 4.7. So, if you want to play with fire, there's an upside in theory, and probably a defensive downgrade for Houston. Freddie's got to be a better defender. I assume he's a better defender than Whitmore, than whatever Houston's going to be rolling out there. So probably a better matchup defensively too for the Pacers. But yeah, so Buddy is now in play in tournaments, I suppose. Brooklyn, let's talk about Luka. I think there's like a chance he doesn't play, but it is national TV. Maybe he gives the runway to Kyrie to have his revenge game here in Brooklyn. Of course, if Luka doesn't go, you look at the projections, you look at the on-off stuff, not the on-off stuff. You look at the if-then stuff, Kyrie is going to jump off the page. Kyrie will look spectacular. He would project for 54 DK, 52 FanDuel, and then Tim Hardaway, THJ, would look really strong as well. Pretty strong, about 34, 35 on DK, 32 on FanDuel. Yeah, Tim, do you want to do like an if Luka's in, if he's not in? How much are you prioritizing Luka? I think I kind of lean SGA for the savings amongst the two.
Oh, yeah, Definitely.
Okay, so you're with me on that, which is always I don't like saying it out loud because I'm not besmirching Luka. If he's watching, he'll drop 100 on me like in 3 quarters.
I'm wrong. I'm wrong every time on Luka though. Every single slate. So you might want to just do the opposite of what I do.
Yeah. He's currently at 15-16% as the ownership, and if he doesn't play, I don't want to say you have to play Kyrie. Like the math is going to say you have to play Kyrie.
I think you do. I think you have to.
Yeah. When has that ever failed, by the way? When Kyrie, all the time, it feels like it all the time for a variety of reasons, for blowouts. But yeah, math is certainly going to tell us that Kyrie will look spectacular. But yeah, what's your plan? Luka, I guess you like him, but you like SGA more?
Yeah, I mean, he's fine, but I'm not playing him in cash or single entry. But if he's out, I'm definitely playing Kyrie in both.
The chat's telling me that, like, I guess multiple people in chat have 4 New York Knicks in their
the Knicks.
Is that what you're getting to?
Yeah, it's like the Knicks for me are really popping. So
maybe
that's
I added too much variance. That's strange because Daryl's asking, what about Curry? He used to play for Brooklyn. I don't know how much revenge Seth Curry has in him, but I know
he would have revenge versus like every team in the league at this point. How many teams have he been on?
There's so much value on the slate. You don't need to do that.
Play the good
play. That seems highly unnecessary. Wait, he's not even projected to play. Is that right? Is he just fully out of the rotation? Is he hurt? Did I miss that? Or is he's just been booted from the he's healthy, far as I know, right? He's still on
the last. He hasn't played since the 31st. He hasn't played the last 2 games.
If Luka's sad, he'd probably find some minutes, correct?
Yeah, he'd play, but you can't play him.
Yeah, you don't want him.
It's been over. It's kind of over for all he does is shoot threes, and I don't think he's been good at that this year. So 33 years old, it's basically over. It was a good run for him. No matter how vengeful he may or may not be. Bobby, what's the plan here when it comes to Luka and Dallas?
I like Luka more than I think most. Busted for everyone else last night. Getting him into teams works. I think Shea I would obviously prioritize ahead of Luka. But for me, like, I don't mind getting Luka. I know Tim was kind of against it. I do think that you can move down to Kyrie. Kyrie was coming back from basically missing a couple games prior to last night. So he does see everyone is going to gravitate to Kyrie, but as Dean kind of noted, like sometimes it doesn't always work out in this scenario for the Mavericks. And I would definitely get overweight on Kyrie in that situation. I don't think he's like a full lock as others might.
Nothing suggests this game should be a blowout, right? It's a 4-point line, but it is the back half of a back-to-back for both these teams. If things get squirrely or goofy or there's like a blowout and layaway, players will get pulled a little bit earlier than they typically would. That's most likely that's again, you're playing to win, you're playing like you're right, but just sort of note that, I suppose. Other pieces on Dallas, you mentioned Luka, you mentioned Kyrie. Is there anybody else we're interested in here, Bobby?
Hardaway Jr. has been shooting the ball really well. If he was out, then Luka, he would definitely get a bump.
Sure.
Probably Hardy as well. But yeah, these value Mavericks guys, if that turned in, they wouldn't be better than the Rockets. So you're not like holding off on Rockets for this Luka news. If we think he were to sit or whatever, you're just jamming Rockets and that's it.
I have 5 Knicks now in my optimal. I keep running stuff. Jeez. Hartenstein, DiVincenzo, Precious, and Brunson. Yeah. Oh man.
That's what I was talking about at the beginning. I'm getting so many Knicks. So for like cash games. So
well, I mean, how do you get more minutes out of Precious has been playing like 40 on the reg, and like again, they lost Sims.
Well, Sims, he plays 16 minutes a night. So that's even more. You know,
Taj Gibson's going to take some. We'll talk about them in a second. But New York looks really, really good. There are some other games on the slate that are pretty uneventful. I think it's pretty clear what the good games are and the bad games are. And I don't mean to like say, hey, you can't play guys there, and we'll kind of run through it. If you guys want to feature somebody, by all means, go for it. But that's the kind of a segue to the Orlando Magic versus Miami Heat. 213.5 is the total. The Heat are 3.5-point favorites. I will say, 82 game season. Individually the games don't really matter. This game does matter more than most for Miami, for Orlando as well. They're currently 7-8 in the Eastern Conference. Miami's 1 game behind Orlando. So, Miami wants to win every game, but they really want to win this game. Orlando is fully healthy. Fully healthy Orlando is basically a no-go for me. Miami also fully healthy. Hero is back from his migraine. Duncan Robinson's back from his concussion. So both teams are fully healthy. I do think we've seen pretty good form of late of Jimmy Butler. And again, I think I could see Miami playing their best players an extra minute or two just because this game matters. It's the front half of a back-to-back for them. They take on the Spurs tomorrow night. Maybe they rest somebody tomorrow if need be, if they get pushed a little hard tonight. But I could see an extra minute or so. And not playoff necessarily, playoff run, but that's the only story I can tell to consider playing players from Miami or even Orlando. But otherwise, Tim, you tell me. Well, you want to come from cash perspective. It's just a straight null wave, right? I think.
Yeah, it's 100% no-go in cash. I could see it getting to some Isaac in tournaments, maybe. Maybe some Bonchero in tournaments, and maybe some Butler. But that's it for me.
Bobby, what do you got? You're focusing on tournaments. This is a game that's it's happening, but nobody's really paying attention. Ownership-wise, the most popular player currently, Jonathan Isaac getting 12%. I don't believe that's true. I just don't believe that. You tell me. He does have power forward eligibility, what makes him a little bit more palatable, I suppose, not street center. But, projected for 20 minutes. Jimmy getting 7.
I don't mind him, really.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's getting 20 minutes, which is like he can definitely go for over 20 easily.
Can he easily go over 20 minutes? It's like having Wendell Carter basically are battling for those minutes, right?
Yeah.
I guess he can, but
I don't mind him.
About a fantasy point matchup against Bam, that's great. It's not great, obviously. Yeah. What do you got, Bobby?
Yeah, for me, I guess Isaac's fine. It's pretty much a catch-me-up game outside of maybe some Franz Wagner. Don't really have any interest otherwise in this game. He's at 7,100. He would be the only guy I'd be willing to play.
You get any other news? Oh, FBV is out for 4 games. I guess that's through the All-Star break. Joel Embiid out 6 to 8 weeks. That's essentially the season, right? Kind of a bummer there for Embiid. Okay, nothing relevant as far as tonight. Do we have anything else to say as far as Orlando, Miami, or can we move on? Like, is there anything?
Move on. There's nothing.
I didn't want to just. Yeah. It's 213.5, and I wouldn't feel great about the over in that one. We got a friend of the show, Kirkwood, in chat. He says, "What a lineup! Swaggy Tim, Kid Underdog," which he called me Kid Underdog the other day, and middle-aged underdog maybe, and Bobby Betts. Well, there you go. We all got our nicknames in the Kirkwood's. Shout out to his Juggalo Nation. He's got to represent there as well. Hey,
he's definitely messaging Chop in the secret Discord and being like, they let those 3 on the same show and not us. That's what he's definitely.
Are they still on those? Are they still on super secret, double secret probation? Those 2? I don't know.
I think
what the rules are. So, not every 211 total is the same, right? Memphis and New York, that's a 211 total as well. New York is a 15, 16 point favorite. Why are we interested in this game? Well, because the Knicks are really, really concentrated as far as their plays. Injuries on their side is going to, they're going to play a pile of minutes here. It would have to be a crazy blowout for Tibbs. And we've seen it before, but it's rare where he pulls his guys and says, all right, screw it. Let's let Malachi Flynn play the entire fourth quarter. For New York, Jericho Sims is ruled out. Randall's out. Mitch Rob's out. They're on their third center. Even Grimy, no Quentin Grimes. OG Anunoby's out for the 4th or 5th game or so. We're projecting Brunson, DiVincenzo, Hart, one of the best, if not the best, rebounding guard in all of basketball. And then Precious playing alongside Hartenstein and McBride to basically play that the 6-man role here. pulling up our minutes projection. It's going to be something silly, isn't it? So these are median projections, Tim. Median projections. Precious Achiuwa 39 minutes, Brunson 38, DiVincenzo 38, Hart 38, Hartenstein 34, and McBride 26. Nobody else in double digits, which is just
Right.
Oh, Ryan Arcidiacono. Shout out to him. He might get a couple minutes. He's projected for.
Wow. I forgot about him.
Yeah, there was a record. I saw it on Twitter. He's had 20 straight appearances in a basketball game where he's not scored. I think Jalen Brunson tweeted it out. Like he was making fun of him playfully. I assume they like each other. But yeah, I think that was the record. Something like that. Maybe producer Steve knows about this. He's a big New York fan, and he can sort of chime in and let us know. But am I getting that right, Steve? If you're with us, feel free to chime in and confirm. Is that what Arcidiacono with the brilliant record of 20 straight games?
20 games. Brunson and Josh Hart put it on their Instagram stories. It was very funny.
Yeah, and then I think somebody said Arcidiacono. Brunson was like, yeah, this guy, he's going to be coaching in the league, and I'll be coaching alongside him like in 15 years or so. So it was pretty fun. A little good back and forth. Brunson seems like a great dude, by the way. I'm happy for that guy. And whatever that contract is for New York, it's looking like a bargain, these days because he is awesome. All right. Tim, New York. How much is too much? New York.
Yeah, I mean, I want to play all 5 of these guys. Obviously, you can't really do that. So I'm getting the 3 in cash and single entry. I think Precious, Dante, and Hart are your priorities, but really any of them are fine. This is such a good spot for them.
Cap. How many we capping it at here, Bobby? As far as New York, will we allow 4?
Max 4, I would say.
4.
For me, if I had to rank them, it'd be Brunson, Dante, Precious, Hartenstein, Hart, McBride. But I think McBride, in terms of ownership, is going to be – where do we have McBride currently?
I think like 14.
14. I think that could bump up a little bit.
If you want a rule, I'll throw a rule out. I'll throw a rule out there, Bobby.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you have to. Just DiVincenzo has lost a little bit of run to McBride. Maybe I would cap those guys at 1. I'm not saying you have to, but if you're thinking of rules, that's one I might put in there.
I might throw that in right now.
Just sort of thinking that one out because if you've been watching them play, like DiVincenzo has lost some fourth quarter minutes, and again he's playing enough minutes, obviously, but McBride is usually stealing them from him. 6-man. He's also a guy that probably, if this game gets ugly, he might still be out there, right? Would he close the game?
I would think that he would be out there.
Yeah, McBride.
Tibbs doesn't really pull guys anyways, though.
I was gonna say,
I'm talking like super ugly, like Mortal Kombat, finish him style. If it's like a 35-point game, which is you can't project that, obviously.
There would have to be like 5 minutes left, though.
They would still be out there. Brunson would still be out there. Yeah, they would still be out there.
Do we cap Hartenstein and Precious at 1 or no? Like they both are battling for the same rebounds, but like I think they both can get there.
Personally, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't because of the tags. Like Precious it isn't like Precious is the same price as Hartenstein or Hartenstein. Hartenstein's 6'4", Precious is what, 5'8". Actually, they're in like a $600 range, but they're still both cheap. It's not like they're both $8K.
They can both get there. I don't know if they both get like 90th percentile games, but yeah, they both can certainly get there. Yeah. Can you rank, Tim? Can you rank your interest in New York players here? Prioritization.
Dante, Precious, Hart, Brunson, Hartenstein, McBride.
And that's it, right? Just those 6.
We're
not getting goofy.
That's definitely it.
There's no reason to get goofy.
No chance. No chance.
Do you see it that way, Bobby? Anything different that you want to stress as far as New York?
I would put Brunson 1, Dante 2, Precious 3, Hartenstein 4, Hart 5, McBride 6.
Memphis runbacks? I mean, I think Vince Williams plays. I have no clue. I think John Conchar plays. I have no clue. I think Santi Aldama probably plays too. They're all currently questionable. Tillman doubtful. Triple J doubtful. they have more bodies if those guys play. We're looking at 12 or so, but it can get thinned out pretty quickly. And amongst those are like dudes you've never heard of, Trey Jameson, the generic you. Of course, I know you guys have heard of him. Tosan, Matt Hurt, 10-day contract, Matt Hurt. My hope is like they all just sort of play and like none of them really matter. I guess Vince Williams is like the best option if you need a run back, if you're going to force a run back. Santi Aldama, maybe one of those two. But we've seen Williams play some point, by the way. So we've seen him close as a point guard. Like it's been either Gilliard or Scottie Pippen Jr. There's a chance it's neither one of those if it comes down to it, and it's Williams running the show. I'm not forcing anything, I don't think, but if I'm going to pick somebody in Memphis, it's probably Vince Williams, assuming he plays. You got thoughts on this, Bobby, when it comes to the Grizz? It's a big mess, obviously.
Yeah, so I had a side bet the other night. My friend bet the under in the Celtics Memphis game, and I was like, all right, yeah, I'll take the over. Just a little friendly wager for a couple jelly beans. And I basically was sweating out this Memphis team, which was an absolute skeleton crew. And they ended up getting there. But that's just a side note. I was just basically, they have nobody. Conchar, I think, being questionable is interesting because he's 4'8". He definitely has one of the higher usages on this team, especially in this scenario. And then he's right in the range of like Royce O'Neal, who I can't stand playing, Dennis Smith Jr. at 4'2", Cam Whitmore at 4'6". So he might be my favorite run back. We know he can do it a little bit offensively too. Probably the most out of these cheap guys for Memphis. So he would be the guy for me. Vince Williams is fine, but he's Vince Williams and he's just fine. It's like your girlfriend, when you get upset, she's like, oh, it's fine. And you're in a lot of trouble.
But she's actually, it's not, everything's not fine though.
Everything's not fine though. Yeah, correct. It's basically.
Can't you just tell you what's going on, and then we can
no, they want you to read their mind. They want you to read their mind, Dean.
You got. It's almost like you need one of those Magic 8 balls. What the Magic 8 ball only answers yes or no questions.
You got Mr. What is it? That little toy you got there?
Mr. Predicto.
Mr. Predicto.
Yeah.
I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately. It's not on my desk right now.
What?
I know. I was entertaining the other day, and I do have the Magic 8 ball. Again, we can only ask yes or no questions. If you have a yes or no question, the Magic 8 ball, by all means, fire away. But Mr. Predicto is unfortunately not at my desk, but he'll be back tomorrow, I suppose. By the way, Derek in chat was talking about pivots off of O'Neal. Everybody's looking for pivots off O'Neal. Fontecchio, is that somebody?
What's Fontecchio's price? I'm fine with Fontecchio.
Similar.
Yeah, he's fine.
Similar.
He's 3.9.
I like
some. Yeah.
Agbaji is ruled out, but he doesn't matter, right? Does he play at all? Yeah, they basically stick to their 10.
He definitely has the worst usage out of that whole entire team, I would imagine. He is not.
He plays 13 minutes a game. On average.
But even if they were going to play him, they're just going to stick somebody else in the lineup because their coach is insistent on Hardy. I think it's his name. Is insistent upon playing 10 guys. He thinks 10 guys is beneficial or optimal. That's just his coaching strategy. So maybe THT would jump in the starting lineup or something like that. I don't think we're projecting Agbaji anyway. Yurt 7 is projected for Colin. Well, we might project a couple guys just maybe more than 10 as a hedge. THT getting 2 minutes. Yeah, I don't know why we're getting into the weeds in that, but yeah, Utah is super annoying. They're even annoying when it comes to their 10th, 11th, and 12th guy. Tim, you got anything else as far as Memphis? Anything to add? It's up in the air, and this may change.
Yeah, just pay attention to the news. That's it.
Okay. Let's see. We got 2 more games. 2 more games in the DK slate, 3 more games in the FanDuel slate. Again, FanDuel included the late night hammer. That is the Bucks and the Suns. The back half of the TNT doubleheader. DK dropped it. Minnesota, the T-Wolves, they're in Chicago. 217 is the total here. As far as who's in and who's out in this one, well, Minnesota is clean. They're perfectly fine. They're fully healthy taking on Chicago. We know Zach LaVine has been shut down. There was rumors of LaVine getting traded to Detroit. He's like, screw it. Just, I'm out. I can't. Just shut me down for the season. Kobe White should be good to go with his ankle. He's probable. Alex Caruso's got that adductor, so he's questionable. Torrey Craig and his foot are good to go. Patrick Williams and his foot, not good to go. This is another one of those games that's pretty uneventful. Like, certainly they can make some noise in the tournament streets. Ownership-wise, Mike Conley's getting some ownership because he's always like a tick too cheap. But what is Mike Conley's ceiling? He's not somebody I'm excited about to play in tournaments. Probably doesn't kill you, but probably doesn't make you. DeRozan's fine, ton of minutes for sure. Not the best matchup. Minnesota, one of the better, if not the best defensive teams in basketball. Bobby, Minnesota, Chicago. Thoughts?
You came to me first, Dean. You came to me first. It's nice to be first for once.
I know you're a big Bulls guy.
Oh yeah, no. So my analysis here is this is a complete catch me up game. DeRozan 2%. I don't play DeRozan chalk. I guess you can play him when he's unowned. I just kind of don't play guys that just shoot like mid-range, have a mid-range game in today's NBA. It's just not something I'm interested in a ton. Mike Conley on the Minnesota side, he's so bad. He's like the Dinwiddie of the West. I feel like I think that's a good comparison. Yeah, there's not a lot here. Like I think you go to Cat, you go to Edwards, you go to Gobert, but not much for me on the Chicago side. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like there's no one that really stands out as a play I want to get super overweight on either side.
Mike Conley, once upon a time, the highest paid player in basketball. Remember that? Maybe 6 years ago, whatever it was, give or take.
I remember.
Yeah, he had the biggest contract in all of basketball. Steven in chat's asking about GG Jackson on DK. I would if like dudes get ruled out, like you need guys ruled out. But right now, yeah, it's a no. Is DeRozan really 2%? I agree with you, Bobby. Like as far as like the DeRozan thing, as a general rule, I really like my guys. I need threes. You got to be able to hit some threes in 2024. There are some exceptions. You got to get a bunch of stocks, like a guy like Bam or a guy like Gobert, or you got to be able to get the triple or triple double or double doubles on the reg, like a guy like Sabonis, who's also capable of hitting threes but doesn't shoot them very often. But like DeRozan in all his mid-range shots, great game for 1998, but doesn't play as well in 2024, and it's not great for DFS either. Certainly playable though. Justin saying 2% DeRozan. I'm seeing 12% DeRozan.
It's 12%. So it's 12%. 12%.
Okay, just wanted to confirm that. Is this a catch me up? We don't really need a catch me up game, but we'll take it. I mean, if there's no need to say anything here.
I kind of like Towns at 11%. Yeah. That would be it really for me.
Gobert at 6'9". Again, like if you would take some of these prices and throw them in like slates from like 3 weeks ago, these guys would be popping hard.
Yes,
but, all the prices have adjusted. Like Gobert at 6'9", like Miles Turner like at 6K. Like all the guys have kind of got down like at 1K or so. You like Towns at 7'9" over Gobert, Tim?
I do, yeah, definitely.
Don Yeezy says he likes Ayo. Ayo's been playing pretty good of late. 37 minutes projected for him.
It's hard to waste a point guard. It's hard to waste a point guard shooting guard spot on someone like him, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Rocco's telling us in chat we got to bring Blender on for the evening slate. Does Blender? Oh, he does a show, of course. What is it? RotoGrinders today at like 11 o'clock or noon, talking. Tim, you appear on that often, yeah, because you talk hockey with him very often. And he talks hockey, and you listen.
And I listen. Right.
This is funny. Yeah. But I know he's done well on the hockey streets. Hockey's back tonight, Tim. We actually have like real games. Right? Last night was 2 games.
I know.
How many games we got tonight?
8.
Yeah. All right. I know my Panthers are playing.
It's a really good slate too.
Yeah. Did you do content for hockey today?
Yeah, I was on Blender's show.
Oh.
Thanks for watching.
I watched it earlier. You had some great nuggets.
Okay.
I heard somebody in the NBA Discord was talking about, I guess DK is running some sort of free contest in the NHL streets. I think it's for tickets to the big game or something. Not get in, but like tickets to play a tournament for the big game. You guys know what the big game is.
I know what the big game is. Yeah.
Yeah. Who's winning the big game? Do we know who's winning? I've not made a wager on it yet.
Dean, are you a Zin guy?
A what guy?
A Zin?
Z-I-N?
Z-Y-N? You don't like Zins? I feel like you pack Zins before the show, you know?
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I don't know.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Nicotine pouches? Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
No. I've
Zimbabwe's, Dean. They call them the Zimbabwe's. You've never tried one? We got to get you.
No. It sounds fun. I'm out. I mean, I'm not going to pick up smoking at this point. It's like, or it's smokeless, I'm guessing.
It's smokeless. Yeah, it's just nicotine and pouch. No, it's not like dip or anything like that, or Red Man. They look like little sugar packs.
No, I've not. Is this an endorsement? Why are you asking? Is this something coming up?
Yeah, I know. This is so random.
Crazed, Dean. I'm just wondering if you pack Zin.
I'm just happy to see you. I do not. It's nothing to do with my Zin. All right. Are we done with this game? We're kind of talking about. That's it. Minnesota, Chicago. We're gonna move on. The hammer for the DK slate is OKC and Utah. 238 is the total. Pretty high, pretty tight. OKC on the road here. 3-point favorites. Tough place to play in Utah. Both Jalen Williams. If your name is Jalen Williams, you're questionable tonight. You have either an ankle or an Achilles. Lindy Waters is questionable with an ankle. Dang is questionable with a hip. These guys don't even matter. Bertans is questionable. Kason Wallace is the guy that would matter, at least for getting some run. He's questionable with his shoulder. Isaiah Joe is officially out. And Utah is fully healthy with the exception of Agbaji. That does not matter. Bobby, do you want to go first? Was I neglecting you? I don't mean to do it intentionally. I just
thank you, Dean. Why, thank you. I appreciate the courtey of letting me go first for the second time on the show.
Sure. Batting out of order.
It's all the SGA. Like, if you're not playing SGA tonight, I think you're in a bad spot. I think he's the stud you want to get up to. Then from there, like ranking them, I'd probably go Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Giddey, and Aaron Wiggins. Those would be the only OKC guys I'd be interested in playing. SGA, because he's just a complete stud. Holmgren, I think it's a good matchup. It's pace up versus the Jazz. I like Giddey a little bit. Maybe Giddey's a little sneaky. What do we have for Giddey's price tag?
59.
They just don't seem to want to play him like 29 minutes or more. 25 has been a projection, and he's good when he's out there typically, but they just don't want to give him any extra run for whatever reason.
Well, what if Jalen sat though? Would it be a boost to him a little bit?
Oh yeah, it would be a boost.
Yeah, I would imagine it'd be a boost.
Really? A lot though? I don't think it'd be a huge boost.
Look,
maybe an extra minute or two.
It's a pretty decent 28 minutes.
Okay, so we're giving 3 extra minutes. Yeah, and even with a 35 TK point projection, you just pull up the if then stuff.
Yeah.
Holmgren would look really good. I think we get a couple extra points as well. You mentioned Wiggins. I think I saw you talk about Aaron Wiggins there in chat.
Yeah.
How much is Aaron Wiggins? I haven't thought about him really. Is he super cheap?
He's 3.7.
Okay.
Yeah.
You need Williams out.
Yeah, you need Williams out.
You need the good Williams out. And
we
also
won't know that though, right? 8:00 is in Minnesota, Chicago. We might not know that until that game is just sitting there by itself.
Right.
And playing Wiggins not knowing is dangerous. But they have a bunch of dudes. Like a lot of their dudes don't matter though, are questionable, and they still have Kenrich Williams. And OKC always does this thing where like they start different guys in the second half. Sometimes if things aren't working, we saw that with Kenrich starting and then getting benched in the second half. It's really about SGA and Holmgren, and I guess Giddey's the next guy in line. What if Jalen Williams actually plays? Is he going to get played, or are people going to be too afraid? Because
I would put him ahead of Chet in that scenario.
I would also
really.
Also.
Is that an ownership thing, or is that you think raw points wise?
I think it's an ownership thing, but I also think it's just a good spot for him overall. Like, But then you're getting the ownership leverage because no one's going to be holding back for Jalen Williams, even though he's a good player, obviously. But I don't think people are going to surround their builds around a situation like that.
some updates or lack thereof. Luka with his nose is officially a game time decision. Maxi Kleber's got that toe. Despite that, he's expected to play. Kyrie with his thumb is going to have his chance to revenge on Brooklyn. He's officially in Orlando. Does the best reporting in the league, probably. One of the best reporting teams in the league. They already telling us their starting lineup well before they have to. They're not obligated to do that until a half hour beforehand. Many teams don't even do that. But Orlando is kind enough to tell us that Fultz, Suggs, Franz Wagner of the brothers Wagner, Banchero, Carter Jr., they are going to be drawing the start there versus Miami. All right. As far as Utah, who wants to talk about Utah? Because I think they're going to be basically unoaked. Anybody?
Sexton, maybe.
Timothy?
Sexton, maybe. Fontecchio, maybe, but no priorities at all.
No priorities.
No.
Yeah.
I like the Simone call.
Which call?
The Simone call, Simone Fontecchio, Dean, that Tim made at the beginning of the show and then just said again, just because he's in the price range of Royce and Jay.
I like rebounders against OKC. It's just you can't really trust that Walker Kessler is going to get any minutes that matter. You know,
right. I would love to play
the
Kessler.
Current projection.
Right. Not enough.
If
minutes.
you tell me he plays 29 minutes, I would play him, but I don't trust that he is. I
have an inside source.
Oh,
I have an inside source that Kelly Olynyk's getting dealt at the deadline, so maybe he falls into some minutes. I'm friends with this good friend, so yeah.
It would make sense. It would make sense that if some team can use him, right?
Definitely. I think the Celtics could use him.
Yeah, they had him a few years ago. Is that how you became the connection through the Celtics in some possible way, or a guy knows a guy, that kind of thing?
Guy knows a guy, yeah. But I do think that he would be a good fit because the Celtics have zero bench, and bringing him back.
Are you getting to any Laurie, Bobby?
I think that's the best
currently, I have a little Laurie, yeah. I like Laurie. He would be my favorite. He put up 26 and 10 in their only meeting, so
he's just pricey.
Laurie. He can get rebounds, and you can rebound versus OKC, like Dean said. So he can also score. His price tag is a little elevated, but it's only a 8 games. What is it? 7 games? How many games?
Well, depending on where you're shopping, 7 games on FanDuel, 6 on DK.
Yeah, 6 on DK.
Mr. Gerg says Olynyk gets traded every deadline. Yeah, I feel like he's been traded several times, right, Kellyo?
Yeah, he's also made $100 million in his career in the NBA. So
yeah,
he's done pretty well for himself. Yeah, I can't.
It wasn't a shot. I don't think it was a shot.
Yeah. No, I think it's egregious personally. But it is what it is.
You're mad
he's
about
Matt
it.
Castle. He's like the NBA version of Matt Castle. Remember Matt Castle? He played for the Kansas City Chiefs. He stepped in after Brady went down in 2007 for the Patriots and was their quarterback in 2008, and then basically made
a backup quarterback indefinitely, basically.
Yeah,
you have a good set, a good 3 or 4 game run. If Josh Gibbs just would have and got hurt in his 3rd game and didn't keep playing, he'd be a backup quarterback forever. But he kept playing and he got exposed. It's oh man, this guy should stick to astronomy. But it's just kind of how that works sometimes. All right. Anything else we should say? We do have the FanDuel finale that is Milwaukee and Phoenix. Do
you want to take a victory lap prior to this, Dean, for your underdog victory last night? I know you want to. I know you've been thinking about it.
He had another one? He had another one?
I just wanted to sneak it in there because I'm surprised the 3 of us don't do more shows together. Right? We got to get on some more NBA stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if Devin's out there listening or not. Hit that like button. Let the people know that they want to see more of the People's Show. Speaking of being a man of the people, I'll drop this in chat too. And I did Roth. I don't know if Roth is in the bullpen listening, but he'll be coming on in 5 minutes or so. But he asked me about it the other day. We talked about it the other day. I have this $1,000 bonus bet on for Hard Rock, and you don't want to use it on just a straight bet where you don't get these $1,000 back. You get whatever the win is, and that's it. So you want to have something. You want to be ambitious. You want to be goofy a little bit. So I did a 3-game. I never do single game parlays. It's something I haven't really delved into just yet. but I did a single game parlay with Houston and Indiana. I got Halliburton getting 5.5 assists, more than 5.5 assists, more than 13.5 points. I understand he's on a minutes limit, but his season average is like 12 assists or so, or 11 and change, and 13.5 points. Come on, we can get that. And then Şengün, over 7.5 assists. What should the odds on that be, Tim? Well, what do you think that should be? I don't know if you're listening or not. Halliburton 5.5 assists. Halliburton over 5.5 assists, over 13.5 points, and Şengün 8 assists or more. What's a good number for that?
I'd say maybe like 11-1.
Oh,
right?
well, I'm getting robbed, and then
10-1,
a little lower. Not 9-1.
9. All right, yeah. You're supposed to get robbed though.
Yeah.
That's the point.
The single game parlays are not the best odds, is my understanding. But
right.
And I did drop a tweet, and I'll share it for the people if you happen to hit the like button on that tweet. If we hit it, I will send a random person, 200 American dollars. There's no sort of like small print or anything. 200 American dollars. Officially, Halliburton's in, by the way. Did not suspect he was going to sit tonight. Halliburton officially good to go. All right, let's talk about this game on FanDuel, because the Bucks are taking on the Suns. This should be a lot of fun. Spectacular game for the studs. And also Lillard seems to be like legitimately questionable. He's got that ankle. Giannis is probable. I assume he plays here on national TV. Brook Lopez, I believe he's still questionable. He had a baby, or a significant other rather had a baby. So congratulations to him. Not sure if he's going to be back or not. If he's not, I assume a little bit more Bobby Portis. Phoenix is fully healthy with the exception of Damian Lee. Closes out here, Tim. The studs look really good. I think we get elevated minutes from the studs. Just, TNT game, extra commercials. We know Booker and Durant play a ton of minutes. I think it really could be an awesome Giannis game. I'm kind of bummed. I don't know. I wish this game was on the main slate for DK, and I kind of don't as well, because I do like the cutoff. But, yeah, at least
What
for
do
FanDuel,
you think about Bradley Beal in this game? I kind of like him.
He really revenged his last time out versus Washington.
Yeah,
he crushed that game.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is going to be a great real life game. I haven't looked too much into this game because it's on the DK slate. But yeah, I like Beal and Giannis. Lillard's okay too. Nobody off the bench really for me.
No.
I don't know. It's a better real life game than a DFS game.
It is interesting that ownership wise, nobody's getting double digits right now on FanDuel. That might change. That would change.
They're too expensive.
If Lillard sits, though, right? If Lillard sits, and I guess we probably have an if.
You won't know it. You won't know it though in time.
You probably won't. You probably won't. But plan accordingly or set up some 2v2s. Yeah, and that's probably what's keeping ownership down as well. But if you're telling me that Giannis is going to be 3% owned on FanDuel, and that's where we're currently at, especially if we lose Lillard, like he's fine as is, right? Certainly he's expensive, and like, oh my God, I got stuck paying for Giannis with Lillard. It's going to be okay. Like it still might not, but there are worse predicaments to be in. You got a thought on this, Bobby?
Probably getting to Portis. I mean, yeah, getting to Bobby Portis would probably be my biggest interest outside of Giannis on FanDuel. For me, I don't play a ton on FanDuel because we're kind of capped in mass with how much we can actually play. So yeah, I would probably be thinking about getting over on Giannis, getting over on Portis. And that would kind of be it. Maybe some PatCon, but we're going to have value, and you're not going to be waiting on PatCon or Malik Beasley, I would imagine. So,
Bobby, you're asking me if I was a Zin guy. I'm not a Zin guy, but I feel like you're a Dogecoin guy. Derek and Chat's talking about Dogecoin. You're a Dogecoin guy, aren't you?
I don't deal with altcoins. I like BTC, Dean. Big BTC.
Oh, look at you dropping the lingo. You can't dumb it down for I don't know what you're talking about. BTC is Bitcoin for those with the uninformed. But I have a
question for you, Dean. Are you a Top Shot guy still?
I did not participate in their drop today, but I did participate in one a couple months ago, and I pulled a Wemby. I have no idea if it's worth anything, But I just like opening things. It's fun.
So I don't. My thing is, I don't understand. Like, if they're embedded on the blockchain, then there's value to these things, I guess. But these are all like you're basically tied to the company. Like, it's just a URL link to the company. So I don't really understand why people are so interested in.
I watched the show and they were advising me that I should buy Top Shots, and I'm very easily influenced. Is what happens. So
you're not very easily influenced though, because I try to get you to spend $4 on a movie and you won't do it, and then you're gonna go buy a Top Shot. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
What was the movie for $4?
I don't know. It was either
I wanted to watch The Town. We were talking about The Town, and like there's a version as an extended version of like 15 or 20 more minutes in it. But they want me to buy it for like $20. I don't want to buy it. I'm not buying movies. What is this, 1993? Who buys
there was
movie?
There was another one too. It was that new DiCaprio movie that came out?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna watch that. You got to like clear your entire weekend. The Flowers, the Moon. It's
Moon or whatever.
It's Kevin Roth. Kevin Roth's here. Crunch Time's here. Keith Eyster. We got Taylor as well. What's up, Roth? How are things?
It's good. How was that Flowers movie? Was that good? Did you watch it, Dean?
I know Bobby liked it.
I've seen it. It's good. It's good.
I thought it was good. I thought Saltburn was good. The new one that came out with the guy who's going to play the Joker. He's going to be a crazy Joker. Those were the two.
Saltburn was wild. It's a wild.
Yeah, movie. It was wild. It was very, very strange. But I thought that kid's going to be like, he like seems like he's going to be like he plays like a good sociopath, I guess. So he's for like the Joker and Batman, he's going to be, I would imagine he's going to be
Barry Keoghan.
Barry Keoghan, yeah.
Yeah, interesting movie for sure. Yeah, it's 3.5 hours that the Moon deal, right? But you got to clear the weekend, but it's worth it. You're saying it's worth watching it? It's 3.5 hours?
So.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's 3.5 hours.
We'll have to check that out for sure. Roth, what's the last good movie you've seen? You got a movie for the people?
The last one was one of those two. I don't know which I watched first, but yeah, the new show Traders I like on Peacock. After I had to buy the subscription for the NFL, I had to find something that I could watch. So Traders, if you guys want a recommendations, it's a good show.
Killing It is my favorite show on Peacock that people don't talk about. Craig Robinson. I think that's what it's called. I think that's the name of the show. Yeah, he's like, well, never. We're delving into there's a long enough slate for sure. Yeah, Kirkwood talking about Curb right now. Yeah, it's Curb season. We'll discuss Curb Your Enthusiasm for sure. The final season debuted over the weekend. But Roth, did I give you enough time? Did you go with the movie, or you got nothing?
Thank you. Over the last year, RRR was probably my favorite movie that I've seen over the last year or two.
What's that?
It's in my queue. It's another 3-hour movie. It's wild, right?
It's like a Bollywood action movie, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. Go into it knowing it's absolutely ridiculous, but it's a damn good time.
I'll watch it.
Yeah,
I watch everything.
Yeah,
I think it's still on Netflix. I'm pretty sure it's still on Netflix, unless it's disappeared from my queue. But and by the way, Roth, I don't know if you caught it or not. You asked about the other night. You were asking me to give an answer. Tonight we are playing the $1,000 bonus bet. Halliburton over on assists, Halliburton over on points, and Şengün over on assists. So
I love the bet.
That one out.
I loved it. I didn't want to when you posted on Twitter because I didn't want to be in the running for I didn't want to be like, give me the $200, Dean. But I did want you to know that I absolutely freaking love that bet, and I'm pulling for you.
There you go. Let the people tell it as well. Let's give the people somebody they like. Somebody that Tim's going to say that's going to be a player you absolutely need. Oh, according to the chat, Amen Thompson is officially starting. That is good to know. We speculated that, and I guess Amen's officially started for Houston instead of Holiday. I'm guessing that is their lineup. Yeah, well, you guys will talk about it. Keith and Taylor will talk about that in just a second. But chalk, Amen Thompson's happening. Do not tell me Amen Thompson, Tim. Be ambitious. Who's your favorite play on the slate? Who's breaking the slate? Give me somebody that people are going to need to win some American dollars.
I'll go Cam Thomas.
All right. Cam Thomas. See it and raise it. What do you got there, Bobby?
I'm going to go the other side of that and go Mikal Bridges.
All right. Yeah, I like somebody on Brooklyn's going to break through for sure. Nobody wants to play Royce O'Neal, but your optimizer might tell you guys to play him. That was Bobby. That was Tim. I was Dean. Hit that like button. Stick around for Crunch Time. FanDuel sponsor Crunch Time. You got Kevin Roth. You got Keith Eyster. You got Taylor Smith. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. As always, welcome to it, ladies and gents. This is crunch time. You know the drill. Going to take it up to lock. We're going to take you through lock. And we got two of the sharpest minds in the biz helping to walk you through the slate. Taylor in the house with the skull and crossbones look. We got, it was this emo Taylor. What up, Taylor? How are you?
I wore it in honor of all my Luka lineup from last night.
Yeah.
Suffer, so.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have an emo phase growing up? And would you say you may still be in it?
There's a chance I'm in it now. Maybe I never had it until I was 36 and not in it. So yeah, I think that's where we're at.
All right, just curious. We got Keith Eyster in the house as well. I don't know what that means. That joke went over my head there. He was PKing. He was player killing in the wilderness on RuneScape. I didn't play RuneScape. We got Ice in the house as well. Ice, you did not have an emo phase growing up.
Definitely did not have an emo phase. You're all over that one.
I was pretty confident in that one. Also, did you have a pretty big night last night? Because I felt like a lot of the things that you said maybe worked out pretty well for you.
It was decent. It was a profitable night for sure. Didn't quite put anything together to get to the very top, but yeah, good night overall. I was right at the field on Luka, so lost 25% of lineups to that. The Lonnie Walker thing was brutal, but if you recall, I had a group where I had Lonnie Walker and DSJ separated. DSJ went nuts. Lonnie Walker got hurt, so those lineups were pretty live for me.
Okay, I didn't realize it was an injury. I saw obviously it went horribly wrong, but I didn't know how or why, so that's good to know. Hey, you know what? We're not here to discuss what went right or what went wrong yesterday. We're here to give the people some freaking winners tonight. That is what we do, and we like to start with kind of a slate breakdown, and Taylor does that very, very well. Taylor, what do we have that has broken and is still waiting to break?
Yeah, so there's a lot still pending, especially on FanDuel. The only difference between the slates is we have this Bucks-Phoenix game at 10 Eastern. It is not on DK, but in that game, Lillard, Brook Lopez, and I guess that's it. They're both questionable. So that's fairly large news for that game. Lopez has been out for the birth of his child. Lillard is dealing, I think, with a groin. He played in the last game, so perhaps he will go. For both sides, Luka is the big one, of course. He is questionable with a nose injury. I think there are 3 Mavs with nose injuries right now. He is one of them. Jalen Williams, it is very odd. And I think they have another guy with like a scratched cornea. So perhaps they should stop getting hit in the face. Jalen Williams, a bunch of Grizzlies, some fringe Thunder guys we're still waiting on. So we'll see if news happens during the show.
Okay, fair enough. I think we just kind of dive right into a FanDuel cash build. Ice, is there anything you want to add? You were kind of nodding along, or are you good just waiting for tournament takes?
I think there's some crazy news. Like this slate could change entirely over the course of this show. Like Luka's obviously massive. Memphis has a bunch of questionable tags. We saw over the weekend where they had a bunch of questionable tags and they ruled everybody out. So the Memphis stuff I have an eye on. And then FanDuel specific, this Milwaukee Phoenix game is very interesting. I don't think anybody's playing it. And I kind of lean that Lillard is playing as well. And I think Brooks' child was born 2 days ago, if I want to say. So I kind of expect both of them back. But if one of them were to miss, that game becomes much more attractive. And I don't think anybody's playing it.
Interesting. Okay, very good. Well, before we jump into some content here, K-Town's Finest says, hey, thank you for your info yesterday. Finished top 20 in a $4 contest. Only had one lineup and you finished top 20. That is pretty damn good.
Congrats.
So congrats to you. We're just going to keep the hot streak rolling. We're going to take one down tonight. Taylor, what are we doing here in a cash build?
Yeah, so like Keith said, this is certainly subject to change with Luka being the big question mark we're waiting on for both sites. But for now, I think either way, you're going to play Amen Thompson in cash. He's going to start with Van Vliet out. Tari Eason also out for what it's worth. He's very good per minute. He's well north of a fantasy point per minute on the year with Van Vliet off the floor. 5.6 on FanDuel, not as cheap as he is on DK, but still certainly cheap enough to be a lock in cash games, I would say. Let's see, other point guard options. The Knicks are again without Anunoby, Randall, Grimes, and now Jericho Sims. So, Tibbs was playing Sims about 12 minutes a game, so that's just one more body they're without. The starters could all play 40 minutes here. The game against Memphis has a wide spread. but we've seen Tibbs play his guys deep into blowouts anyway, especially now that they're down so many guys. So Brunson makes for a very safe seeming spend at 9.7 on FanDuel. Jalen Green, another guy, I think he gets the biggest usage boost of any Rocket without Van Vliet. He's 7.2 on FanDuel, so still some meat on the bone there potentially. He's going to have more ball handling duties in this situation too. And they play Indiana, which is a great matchup. Mike Conley, definitely more of a cash guy than a tournament guy, typically 5.7 on FanDuel. Dennis Smith Jr. popping as another kind of cheap value. The Nets are without Finney Smith. They're without Cam Johnson. They're without Lonnie Walker. They do get Ben Simmons back, but he's still limited. So we saw DSJ play 30, I believe, off the bench last night. He's another guy who's cheaper on DK than FanDuel, but still cheap enough on FanDuel to get to. Maybe not as big of a priority over here. Ditto for SGA. He's, I believe, over 11K on FanDuel still. Good matchup against Utah. Jalen Williams being out would make him look even better. He gets a big usage boost in that scenario. So point guard has a lot, and we haven't even gotten into the Luka thing yet. If Luka's out, obviously Kyrie becomes a much bigger priority. And on FanDuel, if Dame's out, perhaps Cameron Payne becomes another cheap guy you can consider. But you're going to have to make some choices there with this Houston game starting at the top of the hour. As far as shooting guard goes, you can play Thompson, you can play Jalen Green. Cam Thomas should see tons of usage for Brooklyn. Mentioned they're shorthanded. Dante DiVincenzo, once again, expensive at 7.6, but he's just playing a huge role. I think he's second on the team in usage behind Brunson.
He's going to shoot like 19 threes because apparently that's what he does every
19
night.
threes. He's going to make 10 of them because whatever. Memphis is a good matchup too. They're without a bunch of NBA players, potentially more. So could be the Knicks against a G League team tonight. So even at 7.6, he's probably going to be a cash staple. Jalen Williams got that Q tag. He looks fine if he plays, but that's a later game too at 8 Eastern. So may not have that in time to be actionable for cash. I mentioned Kyrie. You can also play at shooting guard. Dylan Brooks maybe gets more usage without Van Vliet. Not the most comfortable value. Royce O'Neal we have projected to start, moving to small forward with Finney Smith and Lonnie Walker and Cam Johnson out. So we should see north of 30 minutes here for Brooklyn against Dallas. Both teams on a back-to-back. Neither team is very good defensively, so there should be points to be scored in this game. Royce O'Neal is not a guy we typically rely on to score a lot of points, but the role should be good enough to make him viable at 4.4. Josh Hart, another Knick that should see 40 minutes or so in the starting role. 6.6 is a lot for him, but same argument as DiVincenzo, essentially. David Roddy is one of these Grizzlies that should play no matter what, but will have a bigger role if some of the questionable guys like Conchar and Aldama are out. And then we're going to start getting into some really ugly Grizzlies if, like, Aldama, for example, sits. That might be more of a DK thing, but we'll just kind of have to see. Let's see who else we have at the forward spots. Precious Achua, power forward, 6'3", another guy playing 40 minutes. Not much usage flows his way, but the role is just really hard to pass up on. And the matchup against Memphis, a poor rebounding, shorthanded team, is a great one for the bigs. So he and Hartenstein are in good spots. Jonathan Isaac has seen more minutes of late. He's kind of hovering around 20. 4.4. Like, he's not bad per minute. Hopefully something better will emerge that means we can not play Jonathan Isaac in a bad game environment. Siakam, not super psyched about that. Jabari Smith looks better on DK. And at center, Şengün is kind of the staple here. You can also play Achua here. You can play Nick Claxton for that shorthanded Nets team. I think Şengün's the guy you want for 9.2. Indiana allows the most points in the paint per game. Şengün, like we've said with all these other Rockets, should see more usage without Van Vliet. So should be enough value to get to him in cash, and I think that's what you do.
Love it. Very good. Ice, let's walk through how we're going to win a tournament tonight. You can kind of zoom out and give me big picture, or you can just dive into it, whatever you feel like doing.
Yes. So touched on it a little bit already. I think as it stands right now, there's already a lot of value on this slate. It's a very good slate. I think what's popping as chalk right now is really solid. Houston without Van Vliet in an awesome matchup. The trouble that I'm having with that game is it's the first game of the night, and I kind of want to backload my lineups a little bit today. If we get Luka news before lock, which I think It's probably likely to come right around lock, unfortunately. So might have to be some quick decision making here leading up to lock. But I'm really hesitant to go like way over the field on any of these Houston guys because there are situations I'm still interested in. Luka being the big one, Memphis being another big one. I do kind of agree with Taylor. The pricing on Memphis is difficult, and knowing the rotation is really difficult as well. I think the name I have the most interest in is Trey Jameson. Gigi Jackson, I think, would Aldama or Williams was rolled out. Probably need both of them out. Jameson, but he's really cheap. We saw him. He was massive chalk over the weekend. Immediately picked up 2 fouls like within the first minute and just didn't play very much that game because he was in foul trouble the entire game and they only had 8 active guys. But Trey Jameson, if Aldama is out, I think is really interesting. He's only 3.9 over here on FanDuel, where everybody else like the Roddies, even Kennard, Gilliard, like all those guys have gotten their price bumps already, where Trey Jameson is still really cheap. It's risky because obviously he can get in foul trouble again. But I do have interest there. I also have interest in the Oklahoma City guys that are catching no ownership now, like Josh Giddey and Lou Dort. If Jalen Williams gets ruled out, they're going to be popping as pretty solid values here. And we're not going to know that.
Jalen Williams in. Sorry to interrupt,
There you go. So
J-Dub is in.
No, yeah. Yep. Important. Saved me a little tangent there. So don't have to worry about waiting on Oklahoma City stuff. But then Milwaukee is the final team that I'm interested in. Definitely want to be overweight on Giannis. Both only available on FanDuel, but this game is important on FanDuel, I think. I will have some exposure to Bobby Portis and Chris Middleton as well, just in case. Like they're not popping as good plays at the moment, but if one of Lillard or Lopez were to get ruled out, they do become great plays. And then on the Phoenix side, nobody's playing Phoenix Stars either. And I wouldn't play them together. It's really tough to fit Durant and Booker with Giannis. But I do want some exposure to Durant and Booker. Like if I was making 10 lineups, I'd only have one of each probably. And then I'd run it back with somebody like Portis or Middleton just to get a little bit of cheap exposure to the Bucks, allow myself a little bit of flexibility as well. But just getting some exposure to that game, I think is important.
Okay, one of the things you said was we might have to make some quick decisions with the Mavs. Can we go over those decisions now? That way, if the news breaks one way or the other, people know what they can and can't or should and shouldn't do.
Yeah, I mean, Kyrie is the very obvious one. Like he's a lock. I would play him in any format, and like he's one of the probably the top play on the slate if Luka gets ruled out. Mm-hmm. Tim Hardaway Jr. definitely becomes an important piece. Maxi Kleber has had a really solid role here. I would have interest in him without Luka. Josh Green, like they're all Josh Green, Maxi Kleber, DJJ, Derek Jones, and Grant Williams are probably in play as well. I definitely prefer Kleber and Josh Green, just feel safer about their minutes. But yeah, I mean, I think quite a few Dallas guys actually become in play. They're not as good of value as what we have already, I would say, right, in like Houston, but they are important enough to where at lower ownership, they could win you a tournament for sure.
Okay, but Kyrie is the main piece. If that news breaks, you're going overweight on Kyrie ASAP.
Yeah, I'm already significantly over ownership on Kyrie. It's just makes it easier to get even more at that point.
Gotcha.
But there's the revenge narrative too. If you want to go down that path, it's already a really good spot for Kyrie. If Luka gets ruled out, it's the spot.
Great. Okay. Do you want to roll through a build for me, or you want to hold that until we get to DK?
Yeah, let's go ahead and roll through.
Sweet.
All right, so SGA I think is an awesome play. Jalen Williams in does affect him a little bit. Should drop the usage, but he's still going to be above 30% usage. He's been awesome this year. Matchup against Utah is really good, so still want plenty of exposure to him. Jalen Brunson, like the Knicks and the Nets, both of those situations, I think those rotations are going to be extremely tight. We could see Knicks guys playing 40 minutes. Like Precious Achiuwa has played 40 minutes in like 3 straight games. It's just ridiculous how many minutes these Knicks are playing. So I have interest in them. I think there's plenty of ceiling to be found in this game. Obviously blowout risk, especially if some Memphis guys get ruled out. But Tibbs is just a guy who's
again.
Yeah.
Let's
hear it.
Aldama, Rose, and Vince Williams are in. Jaren Jackson, Xavier Tillman out as expected.
So that pretty much completely takes Memphis off the table. It's a really tough matchup against the Knicks. Like the pricing is really tough with all those guys in. I think if I am targeting Memphis players now, Aldama is one of my favorites. Vince Williams would be the other guy that I have slight interest in. But that's definitely takes them mostly out of play for me.
Okay, great.
All right, so continuing with a couple of point guards. Kyrie, I mentioned way over the field on him. Dennis Smith Jr., I think, has a really solid role, even with Ben Simmons back. I want to go right back to him. I like Miles McBride as a pivot. He's one of the less popular Knicks, and he's had a pretty solid role off the bench. They're basically playing 6 guys at this point, and McBride is that 6th guy, but not catching near as much ownership as the starters. And then Amen Thompson, I think, is like a lock button type of play. But if you're not playing him, Aaron Holiday, it would be the pivot off of him. If Thompson loses minutes, gets in foul trouble, anything like that, an injury, as we saw with Lonnie Walker last night, I think Aaron Holiday would be the beneficiary there. So definitely want a piece of him. Not as good of a fantasy player as Amen Thompson, but the ownership is drastic. Devin Booker, a guy that I want a share or two of just to try to chase a ceiling in that spot. I think Cam Thomas is a very solid play today. DiVincenzo, again, the usage have just been insane. Love the matchup against a watered down Memphis team. Moving to some forwards here. Precious Achiuwa, like he's going to be out there for 40 plus minutes. It's an awesome matchup against Memphis. Don't really like playing him into ownership, especially with the price rising. But like it's a really hard spot for him to fail. Royce O'Neal is getting plenty of ownership. He's definitely a guy I would be under the field on. He's really cheap. He's probably going to be out there for 30 plus minutes, but just doesn't do a ton while he's out there.
Yeah, Dean mentioning in the chat that we bumped down Royce O'Neal's projection a little bit from where it was earlier. So if you haven't refreshed, not you specifically, but for those folks out there, just keep in mind it's a little lower than what it was earlier.
Sounds good. Still a really tight rotation there. So he's going to be out there, but he might not do anything while he's out there. I think Josh Hart is playable. Again, another guy who should see massive minutes. Jalen Williams just getting ruled in now. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not very popular. We've seen him play incredible this year. If you're not playing SGA, I think Jalen Williams is a phenomenal pivot. Obviously, Chet Holmgren as well, who we'll get to in just a minute. Mikal Bridges is going to be out there for a ton of minutes. I think he could find a ceiling spot. Minnesota is a spot that nobody is playing. And like, it's not a great game environment. Both teams play slow. But Karl Anthony Towns at 8-1, Anthony Edwards at 8,900. Both of those guys are going to be like 10% or less owned. If one of those guys finds a ceiling, that could be a way to pass a bunch of the field in tournaments. So I do like that. And then at center, Şengün in an awesome spot. Definitely want to be at least at the field on him. Just mentioned Chet Holmgren. Really like this spot for him. I think if you're not playing SGA, you want to find one of these Thunder who are going to have the big game. Chet or Jalen Williams, I think, are the top 2 options to do that. I really like Nick Claxton as well. With Simmons back, I think his ceiling is not quite as good as it was, but he still should see around 30 minutes. Love the matchup against Dallas. Like, they're probably going to run Kleba out at the 5 again. So pretty good from a matchup standpoint there. Miles Turner, I think, is interesting, playing a bunch of Houston. So trying to find a run back on Indy is something I'm interested in. Miles Turner has a fair enough price at 6,900. Minutes have kind of been all over the place, but I do want some exposure there. And then Hartenstein, a guy in that really tight Knicks rotation, definitely like him a good amount. Gobert, another Timberwolf that will take a shot on trying to find a ceiling.
Okay, very good. With that, we got to talk a little bit of DK. But before we do, we should note this show, by the way, presented by FanDuel. Hit the thumbs up. There's the reason this show is free is thanks to FanDuel. You bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, Vermont, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Shout out to FanDuel, keeping the show free for you. Let's dive into a DK build. Taylor, bringing you back in the mix. Anything dramatically different over on DK?
Not too dramatic. Yeah, like Amen Thompson's staple here. He's 4-1. That's just silly. So for the role he'll have, he is in play regardless of the Luka thing. Yeah. So position by position, Miles McBride, Keith mentioned on FanDuel on DK is only 3-7. He's going to have to play minutes almost by default just because he's like the sixth man in the six-man rotation. So he's viable if you're looking to punt another point guard position. So they took down Mavs props. Interesting.
But also, apparently, Luka is warming up while wearing a mask. So
I saw a tweet from Brad Townsend, a beat writer, that said Luka shot a couple free throws with a mask and then ended his warm-up sooner than usual or something like that.
that's not
So-
really warming up at all. Yeah, that
Load up
that ain't
Kyrie.
warming
It
up.
is not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Kyrie was good anyway at 8.5 on DK. That's just too cheap for him. Even with Luka in, he looked pretty good. If Luka is out, which is not officially, he's only a cash staple too, along with Amen Thompson. Luckily, I think they're both point guard, shooting guard eligible. The Kyrie thing may make Jalen Green less of a priority, especially if we don't get the Luka news before 7. Jalen Green, of course, starts at 7. Still a great play, but not as great as Kyrie would be for 1,300 more or so, I believe. So Jalen Green may miss the cut as a result of that. We're going to have to see where projections land, but obviously Kyrie is going to be awesome. Mentioned McBride, Dennis Smith Jr., another cheap point guard to consider. Aaron Holiday, I think, is 3-3, but don't love that. He could have some overlap with Amen off the bench, but it's Aaron Holiday. SGA is 10-5 on DK. Utah is a good matchup for the Thunder. Jalen Williams being in doesn't really quell my enthusiasm for him. SGA has been projected in, or Jalen Williams has been projected in all day. SGA is still projected well, so if you have money to spend, I'm happy to do it there. But again, if Kyrie pops, then SGA is less of a priority because you can kind of go with a more balanced build with Şengün, for example. Still a great play at 9K on DK at center. As far as secondary Mavs, I guess Tim Hardaway might be more viable if Luke is out, kind of the number 2 option in that situation. Let me see what his price is on DK. 6.4. So we're not getting like a big discount on him, but good game environment. Could fly under the radar too if that news comes out after lock, especially. A few more shooting guards. That's all really the same guys. DiVincenzo, for the same reasons he's good on FanDuel. Small forward, Josh Hart. Tim Hardaway is in the same price range as him. That'll be an interesting 1v1. Depending on where projections land, if Luka sits. Royce O'Neal for 4-1, fine cash play. Even if we brought his projection down, he's still cheap and has a role. So I don't think in cash it's too scary to play him as a cheapie. Buddy Hield is popping into some lineups now with Ben Mathurin out for Indiana. But that's another one that starts. That's the same Rockets game. So that's another guy that ties up a spot at 7 Eastern. Precious Achiuwa, I mentioned Jabari Smith is only 5.2 on DK, his cheapest price point in the whole season. That's obviously another Rocket, another guy that starts at 7, but he's fine if you land there. I don't think that's a bad play at all against Indiana. Jonathan Isaac would prefer to not do that. Same with the Utah guys. Fontecchio, Kelly Olynyk feel a little bit thin. And at center, once again, Achiuwa, Şengün. Isaiah Hartenstein's cheaper over here than he is on FanDuel. Looks fine. At only 6'3", with no Jericho Sims. They're probably going to have to dust off Taj Gibson for a few minutes, so Hartenstein should see 40-ish, presumably, if he can. I think that really does it for center. Miles Turner's cheap, but I think it's more of a tournament play. Nick Claxton and Chet Holmgren kind of fall into the GPP category, too.
Very good. I want to kick it to you. Jabari Smith sounds like a phenomenal play at that price. Do you have any Jabari Smith in your lineup?
I do have a little bit. His minutes have been a little bit down. Like occasionally they'll run Cam Whitmore out there for extended run. He's been struggling a little bit recently, and the minutes haven't been secure. So, but I agree. Like he could play.
Is Van Fleet out?
Minutes.
I mean, obviously he's not a point guard, but does Van Fleet being out help his minutes? Do you think?
I think it's more about just Jabari playing well is what's going to help his minutes. They're not afraid to run him out there for 36 minutes if he's playing well. He's just been struggling a little bit here recently.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Let's go through a DK build if you don't mind. What do you got?
Yeah, so I am playing this like Luka is out now. At this point, I've swapped into our if-then projections. Tim Hardaway Jr. looks really good. Kyrie, we already talked about that. Top play on the slate for me. Tim Hardaway Jr. looks pretty good. I definitely want some exposure to Josh Green and Maxi Kleba as well. So that's the big change that I'm making here. And then we could just go through some position stuff as well. It's not all that different. I talked about the Milwaukee game a little bit. That's obviously not available here on DraftKings, but very similar stuff. I still think Houston is incredible values. Amen Thompson, the top value on the slate. SGA is still an incredible play, even with Jalen Williams in. Love the matchup against Utah. Jalen Brunson going to play a ton of minutes. Kyrie jumping way up if we do get Luke out here in the next couple of minutes. Cam Thomas, a guy who can score a ton of points, going to have to play big minutes for Brooklyn today. DSJ, a solid roll off the bench for Brooklyn, who is shorthanded. Again, Miles McBride as a value play. Let's see. I think that covers it. Some of those have shooting guard as well. Kobe White, a name I haven't mentioned yet. He's going to be out there for a ton of minutes as well. Really tough matchup against Minnesota, but if you're looking for a way to get way off the board, Kobe White's a name that I don't mind. At the forward position, DiVincenzo's prices continues to climb. Doesn't matter. His role is incredible. Tons of usage without Julius Randle in there. Let's see here. Lauri Markkanen is a name I have some interest in. Playing a ton of SGA. I like running that back with Markkanen. A little bit of Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren as well. So looking for some Utah exposure. Markkanen would be the guy I'm looking at. Fontecchio is another Utah name who's cheap, who might be a value pivot. Cam Whitmore, who we just talked about when talking about Jabari Smith, like there's nothing to say he's not going to play 25, 26 minutes in this spot. And he can have incredible production off the bench. Love the matchup and the game environment against Indiana. So definitely want some Cam Whitmore exposure. Tim Hardaway Jr. definitely has jumped into my pool. Let's see here. Josh Hart, I think is fine. Let's see. Under the field, Royce's ownership projection actually came way down. We have him at just 5% here at 4,100 on DK. I'm actually interested. I had him pretty limited. I might build a little bit of that in. Jonathan Isaac is a guy who's been seeing more minutes here recently. He's 3,600. We actually have him as higher owned than Royce O'Neal at this moment. And then Fontecchio, like that $3,600 to $4,100 range at forward. I think all four of those are pretty solid plays. I would just rotate through those guys and hope to find the ceiling there. Center position, I think Şengün's in an awesome spot. Chet Holmgren, one of my favorite pivots away from SGA that I mentioned. Hartenstein should play a ton of minutes. Love him tonight. Nick Claxton, Rudy Gobert, both could find ceilings in this spot, and then Miles Turner as well.
Okay, very good. Guys, we have 11 minutes or so until lock, which was 10 minutes until we get Luka news. So we will stay on our toes and be ready here. And in the meantime, let's take some QQs here. Let's see what we got in the RG Discord. That's where the cool kids are hanging out. FanDuel Cash, if Luka doesn't play Kyrie or Brunson, it's Kyrie by a country mile, right?
Yeah, he's cheaper. But on FanDuel, it's only a $400 difference. I do think Kyrie's the play, but Brunson still looks fantastic.
Okay, it's Kyrie, but it's not by a country mile. I stand corrected. DKGPP, Ice, Aldama, or Io?
Give me Aldama there.
Okay, very good. Fluff says, any Dinwiddie in a FanDuel GPP, Ice, or should I just eat the salary, go down to DSJ?
I hate playing Spencer Dinwiddie. I think he has secure minutes in this spot, and that's why I hate playing him in general. Sometimes he just ends up with 24 minutes. I don't think that's going to happen tonight, so he's probably secure playing 30 plus.
Oh, Luka's in.
Oh man. All right. It's still DSJ for me over Dinwiddie, but I do think Dinwiddie's safer than he usually is.
Okay, Ice, I imagine you've got some adjusting to do now.
I've got some work to do, yep.
Okay, so I'm going to pepper Taylor with a few questions. I will let you try and, because now you got to pivot into more of this Houston value, right? That's coming up in 10 minutes. Is that your game plan?
Yes. Yep, that's correct.
Okay. Let's see what we got here. Taylor, Siakam or Cat straight up? I've got him dead tied on my projections. This is on DK.
I think Cat looks a little better with Halliburton in for Indiana.
Okay, we'll go to Smoke and Jay's question. Taylor, FanDuel GPP, Jalen Green or good Jalen Williams in OKC?
I think Jalen Green slightly there.
Okay, jumping into the YouTube here. What do we got on FanDuel? Taylor, you want McBride or DSJ?
I feel a little bit better about DSJ.
DSJ?
Yeah.
Somebody's lagging. I don't know if it's me or y'all. I think my computer might be laggy here. What do we got here? We Major says all of these gentlemen are 4,900 on FanDuel. Taylor, who do you like most? Dylan Brooks, Jay Green, or Beasley?
Beasley will look a little better if Lillard is out, but we don't know. I think it might be Dylan Brooks, sadly.
Okay. Yeah, that is not fun. C Selfmade says, hey, nobody's on Jimmy Butler tonight. Ice, are you on Jimmy Butler? Is that a guy that generally you don't play a lot of?
Yeah, I don't play a lot of Jimmy Butler generally. I don't like the matchup against Orlando. Tyler Hero is back, so I'm not on Jimmy Butler either.
Okay, that's fair. Last man in FanDuel cash, Taylor Beal or DiVincenzo?
DiVincenzo and cash for sure.
Yep. J3 says Taylor hates Jonathan Isaac. I suggested Jonathan Isaac.
I don't hate Jonathan Isaac. It just feels
battle. Make your case,
it
Taylor.
It is a bad game environment.
Bad game environment. Ice, make your case.
But yeah,
it's not a clean path. So I wouldn't say that I love him. I just think that he's cheap and he's going to see 20 minutes. He's a good stocks guy. Like he does a little bit of everything, but again, like he's probably not playing more than 20 minutes. So it's not a clean path by any means.
Okay. FanDuel cash question, Taylor. 3v3 for you here. You want Conley, Cam Thomas, and Josh Hart, or Brunson, DSJ, and Dylan Brooks?
What was the first one more time?
It was Conley, Cam Thomas, and Josh Hart versus Brunson, DSJ, and Dylan Brooks.
I think the first one sounds a bit better.
Okay, great. Fluff says FanDuel GPP. Ice, I'm going to give you this one here. Royce v. Brooks straight up.
With Royce's ownership coming down a little bit, I think I'd be okay just leaning into Royce. He's going to be out there a ton. Brooks will be too, but yeah, it's Royce for me.
Okay. Taylor, your favorite play on DK at 7,700 or less. We have about 6 minutes until lock.
Well, DeRozan is not going to be very popular. Vucevic, the matchup's really bad for both of them. DiVincenzo's the one. I assume you already have him. So I'll go with Mikal Bridges for 7-2.
Okay, great. FanDuel GPP. I'm scrolling up a little bit. I missed some of these questions in the Discord. Ice, FanDuel GPP. As a last piece, do you mind Watford?
I think he has a chance to play some minutes tonight. We haven't projected for 3,800. I'm fine with that.
Okay. Ice, I'm going to pepper you with a couple more here. DK GPP. Yep. Anybody you like in the util 3,900 or less?
There are a couple. We just talked about Watford. I think he's okay. Let's see who else. McBride at 3,700 would be my favorite.
Great.
I think Keontae George is okay, but yeah, McBride is pretty safe.
Okay, and then FanDuel GPP. Ice, after this, you can take a break and get back to lineup building. Kyrie or Şengün, the $100 difference in FanDuel.
It's Şengün now with Luka in. Yeah. And I'm good with whatever you need.
Okay, great. Let's see what else we got. Andrew says, Taylor, with the Luka news, him being in, for FanDuel cash, do I go Kyrie and Josh Isaac? You do not. Or DiVincenzo and Nembhard?
I think it is the first one. Or yeah, because I just don't want to play Nembhard. I guess with no Mathurin, he maybe has a path to minutes, but first one sounds better.
Okay. DK GPPs, Ice, Royce, and Hartenstein, or Whitmore and Giddey?
Man, before the show, I would have said the second one because I was hoping for that Jalen Williams news, but I think you got to go to the first one now with
Okay.
Jalen in.
But you do like Cam Whitmore, though.
I do. I love Cam Whitmore.
Well, all right. Let's see what else we got here. FanDuel GPP, Ice, last piece. You got Crowder, Isaac, or O'Neal, or maybe somebody better at 4,600 or under as small forward. P.S. I've already got DSJ.
So Royce is the much safer option just because of his minutes, but I think I prefer Isaac slightly.
Okay, great. We have 4 minutes until lock. Get your questions in. We're doing a pretty good job of hitting all of these. Make sure you hit us with a little thumbs up, by the way. And check out our brand new props and pick'em package if you haven't already done so. It's the experts that you know and love at RG. Taking our premium stats, comb through the market for any inefficiencies. Using that model, you can easily see which lines are off, where to find them, how likely the prop will be to hit. All of that is right there in one spot. It's amazing. You can also try out the new props and pick'em package as a 3-day pass. So it's great. Just try it out. 3-day pass. Note that it will auto renew at the monthly rate once those 3 days are up. You can use the link in our description for a 3-day pass for the props and pick'em package. Highly recommend you do so. Let's see if we got any more QQs. No. I was stalling. I was killing time doing reads. You guys didn't even get any questions in. Let's see what we got here. Ice, where is your main pivot now, and how much Kyrie do you have left?
I still think Kyrie is solid, as I mentioned. I still have 30% Kyrie.
Okay.
Main pivot, I jammed in a bunch more Cam Whitmore is how I'm differentiating.
Nice. Okay. Prem says DK GPP, Ice Fontecchio, a good play at forward?
I do think he's in play. I think his minutes are very safe today with Agbaji being ruled out. They don't have a ton of wings in Utah. So he's playable. I don't think he has a huge ceiling, but definitely playable.
Okay. Any interest in Jeff Green from either of you? Taylor, you can go first. No.
Nope.
No, it was a simultaneous double head shake. Okay. See if we got anything else. You got less than 2 minutes until lock. Got a few people typing in the Discord. By the way, make sure you hit us with a thumbs up. It's free content. And the more eyeballs we get, the more likely it is to stay free. So don't hit the thumbs up for me. Hit it for you. We're trying to keep this show free for you. On FanDuel, do you think SGA will fall behind Brunson in ownership, Taylor?
I would think so. Brunson's quite a bit cheaper. Let's see, we have it projected 12 or so for SGA, about 20 for Brunson.
Okay, here you go. FanDuel cash question, Taylor. 2v2, Hart Dinwiddie or Brunson Brooks?
Hart Dinwiddie, Brunson Brooks, I think.
Okay. Question in a DK GPP from Mr. Irrelevant Ice. 3 Rockets, 3 Jazz, 2 Thunder. Is that a bad DK build in a large field tournament? 3 Rockets, 3 Jazz, 2 Thunder.
3 Jazz is a little concerning. I think 3 Rockets is totally fine with their situation. Because you have the Thunder, I'm okay with the 3 Jazz, but that'd be my concern is that the Jazz, do the Jazz have enough ceiling for all 3 to pay off?
Gotcha. Okay, great. We're less than a minute until a lock now. Will Ben Simmons playing affect D. Smith off the bench?
Shouldn't have a huge impact. Simmons is limited. They're without a few other guys on the wing, so we still have DSJ at 26 minutes.
Okay, great. J3 in the chat says Cam Whitmore triple-double alert with the siren. You on board with that?
Can he get
10
assists?
He averages like 1 assist a game, maybe.
Yeah. All right. The double we'll give you.
Double. I'm on board.
Yeah.
With.
Mm-hmm. Hey, with that, gentlemen, we have hit the lock. I hear babies upstairs screaming, so I need to go save my wife. So we're going to bounce on out of here. For Ice, for Taylor, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.